The war of humans and monsters has been a rather underdeveloped part of the lore of Undertale since the game came out like a decade ago. This war, which is the entire reason the monsters are trapped underground, is shrouded in mystery. We know it was a millennia ago that countless monsters were wiped out while no human souls were claimed. Damn. And that no one really wanted to fight in that war. And in the end, 7 magicians were responsible for the magic that keeps the monsters trapped underground. And it seems like in the end, this act of fear and selfishness stripped the humans of their magic, something that is described as an expression of oneself, representative of compassion and love. Idiots! Today I want to explore the stories of those 7 magicians specifically, and the human-monster war kind of in general. This is basically just fanfiction and design notes, so I hope you enjoy! My initial idea when designing the magicians was simple. Take the basic idea of the 7 humans used in my last video, deck them out with the color of their soul, and a corresponding RPG class. I feel like this design is kind of emblematic of all that. Orange? Orange here is decked out in a gi, with bindings and gloves that you go punch with! Sort of inspired by monks and fighters in D&D. I imagine their magic would work similarly. See, even though these 7 are basically sages, I really don't want to make it something like Zelda's 7 sages, where they all use this nebulous power inspired by their element or whatever. This is Undertale. Magic is an expression of yourself, a practice that shows who you are. So when you pull together 7 of humans' most powerful sorcerers together, their magic is going to reflect exactly who they're supposed to be. This one, they're a fighter, and their magic reflects that. Bravery flows through their body, emboldening their hits and giving them extra surges of power behind their hits. Kinda like how shonen power systems like Naruto or DBZ work. They can't shoot, like, ki blasts or something, though. No lasers here. Fortunately, though, this one isn't malicious. Their bravery makes them foolhardy and pretty easily to be fallen under propaganda because of it, but it makes them sturdy and strong. Definitely the least magic of these guys, but it fits the vibe, man. Watch our top 10 smoke spots in Undertale. Last time, Kindness was an older teenage cook who cooked for others who could not cook for themselves. The trait itself used in-game represents healing, food, and it has a big badass shield. To me, that translates pretty naturally into making Grain a big old paladin who's old as hell, who cooks for the crew for fun. She's kind of everyone's favorite. She's the second oldest in our little crew of mages, a classic badass granny who can dish out an ass whooping when the time comes for it. Obviously, green magic in Undertale is used both to symbolize healing, but also the green soul mode, which has a shield, and practice how it's used. Obviously in both games it's like a weapon, whatever. This sort of leans into green magic being almost like Ralsei-like, playing support to protect and uplift friends. Feels natural for our granny paladin, huh? This design also shows off the sigil of humans, a sword with a heart on it, showing humanity's pride and their inclinations towards violence. But as I've covered before, the sword is also a symbol of heroism. A friend also mentioned that it's a sword, while Monster Kinds looks like a shield itself, and that was unintentional, but really cool. The wielder of that sword, though... If you're wondering why these 7 are starting to resemble the humans I've done before and thinking that seems unlikely, well, I'm doing it because of this chucklefuck. Red here is one of the 2 sages we actually see in-game, resembling Frisk, Kara, and even Chris, all of whom have red souls already. I can put every one of their appearances on screen right now, all within the intro to the game. Considering their place mirroring Toriel, the queen, Asgore, the king, and their place alongside the second mage, I don't think this is just the current leader of humankind. I think this is one of the very sages that sealed monsters underground. Sort of like how Zelda is often alongside the 7 sages in the Zelda series. Unfortunately, our monarch here is a metaphorical monster. Their determination fuels them, telling them that the most important thing in this world is expansion of humankind and their own power, much like Kara's told them the importance of rising numbers. In an attempt to seize power, Red targets the weakest minority they can. Monsters. Not only can monsters easily be killed, but their ability to absorb human souls has recently come to light, and that's enough to plant fear in the hearts of many. This makes them a perfect target. If a monster decided to, they could become more powerful than any human has dreamed, and isn't that scary? So to recap, Red uses their position of power to spread propaganda and fear about a marginalized group of people in order to seize power more. Their magic is kind of tough to land on. The only explicitly magical stuff Frisk does is like the save load reset, which doesn't count. That's more of an inherent power of determination. And the more general save ability they're given to recover the lost souls, which doesn't feel right for our would-be president of the USA here. Then what does work? Well, I mean, the sword could infuse their soul with like, I don't know, energy beams and shit. Real link core to further push the narrative that they're a hero amongst their people. I think that works. I imagine Cyan here as the sorcerer standing next to Red in the intro. Not only does a bow and a toy not really lean into any RPG class that I can tell, but I thought the trait of patience and the description of magician matches together to me to make like an ancient wizard of sorts. I put his soul on a staff because that's, you know, really cool. Also gave him like a knife with a bow handle as a nod to his great to the power of infinity +1 grandchild. How many generations is like 2,000 years? 300 or some shit. I also imagine as the magician standing next to Red, Cyan is more or less their second in command and maybe even like an advisor, which means he's probably also monster racist. Gosh darn it. Since this guy is big wizard energy, I think his magic looks a lot like most big wizard stuff. He stands there and casts big ass spells that you can't fucking reach him because you shall not pass! I couldn't help myself. Now, I know I said I based most of these designs around the Fallen Human designs I did a few years ago, but here's the sole exception. See, back in that video, I got pretty lazy with Integrity's design. This is actually designed for Julia from Double Scramble, my sprite comic based on Undertale and fanfiction. It's a whole thing. However, I've started to think using that design, which is mine, by the way, makes the 7 designs a little more homogeneous, and it's, you know, it's for a different thing. A little like if I straight up dropped UTY Clover as the design for Justice. Like, yeah, that sure is UTY Clover. Good job, buddy. So I distanced this design from that one, making them resemble a Final Fantasy dancer. I imagine their magic is stained by like literal movement, like the Blue Soul mode. You dance, you cast, you fire, you know. Maybe those spells are support, like how dancers typically work, I think. But I also like the idea that's basically just like kickboxing but flowier. Also, there, blue redesign for the last time I did this. Would you believe that this is the second of the magicians I designed? I mean, come on, Justice is my clear favorite of the 7 humans. Something about that goddamn cowboy aesthetic, it just speaks to me. Anyway, cowboys didn't exist a millennia ago, so our would-be gunslinger becomes the next best thing. An archer. Big old bow that gives them big shot arrows. I mean, come on. Their aesthetic is loosely based off of red mages from Final Fantasy, not because they really fit all that thematically, they just fucking look cool. I imagine their magic is like shooting arrows real good, like magic arrows. I noticed they made all their magic like almost exclusively combat centric and also reflective of like the different soul modes, which may seem a little weird, but this is a group of people that trap the monsters underground for centuries, so I can't really say it doesn't fit. Gerst may say that the two sides don't want to fight each other, but this group of 7 are essentially like the generals. Even the few that may not be 1,000% on board isn't going to be enough to stop the rest of humankind riled up by the propaganda spurred by their leaders. Sometimes you've got to speak up, you know? And I think our last sage is kind of a perfect example of someone who couldn't, but doesn't. If you're wondering what the difference between determination and perseverance is, it's purple here. Determination is drive. It's that desire to change fate, to change the world in a way that means something, good or bad. Determination is power, it's fire, it's strength. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but it's fuel. Perseverance, though, is the persistence to weather the storm. It's not drive, it's just existence, the bare minimum. You sit and you mull your way through things and persist just for the sake of it. Determination is drive to change the world, but perseverance is the desire to persist even when it has no end goal. Existence for the sake of it, more or less. I think that's why this is my magician of choice to be the one Gerson knew, and possibly even had a relationship with, if that's what this text is implying. This person, one of the most powerful magicians in history, able to cast basically any spell at their book's disposal, sat by while the humans with drive and power put monsters underground. It's kind of like Gerson said, I never hated humans. Some of my best war buddies were human. Of course, all of them are gone now. Long gone. When they sealed us away, I didn't resist much. Humans and monsters weren't always enemies. No one really wanted to fight in that war. And the sides weren't always all that clear cut. I even knew one of the people doing the sealing. Seeing them in that beautiful magician outfit for the first time, for the last time, and at such a moment, it felt strange, I tell you.